Today, I wanted to talk about the arm length discussion. Does it matter in the NFL? I've never seen this amount of misinformed and out of context conversations in my life. Twitter is rampant with people talking about arm length and bringing up Will Campbell that have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. For the record, arm length has absolutely nothing to do with talent. It is simply NFL history that people are arguing with here. This arm length debate goes back to last century, but it's just a couple weeks ago that social media is catching up, and clearly they do not understand the conversation. Fans don't care about arm length. It's NFL general managers and coaches that do. Too many think that if you mention Will Campbell at guard, you're saying he's bad at football or that he can't play tackle. That could not be further from the truth. I believe there are a lot of guards in the NFL that could play tackle. They just never get that chance because NFL teams prefer guys with longer arms on the outside. It's actually very simple, but people simply don't understand. Case in point here, guys. Joe Thuney, the guard who the Bears just traded for, a guy who's no doubt a future Hall of Famer and one of the best offensive linemen in football. He played all over the offensive line for North Carolina State, but he would settle in at tackle. Scouts said he had the footwork, athleticism, and technique to stick at left tackle in the NFL. However, he measured in with just 32 and 1/4 inch arms, and that led him to get moved to guard in the NFL. Does that mean Joe Thuney isn't good at football or that he can't play tackle? No. It simply means that NFL teams view him as a guard because he doesn't have at least 33-inch arms. But Joe Thuney's went on to make 165 starts in the NFL at left guard, and he's left his mark as one of the best in the NFL. Despite his short arms, it did not stop him from becoming a Hall of Famer. And I haven't heard a single person mention his arm length since he's been in the NFL. But the fact remains, NFL GMs did not want him to play tackle with 32-inch arms. Even last year in Kansas City, he proved that he can play left tackle. He helped the Chiefs out down the stretch when he filled in at left tackle when they needed it most, proving that a guy with 32-inch arms could get the job done. But guess what? NFL teams would still rather he play guard than tackle. The same thing happened with Zack Martin and so many other great college tackles. It doesn't mean they're bad. It simply means NFL teams want them to switch positions. Zack Martin is a case that is very similar to Will Campbell's. He actually started more games at left tackle, a full season more than Will Campbell did. Zack Martin was a 4-year starter at left tackle for Notre Dame, actually setting the school record for career starts by an offensive lineman. And despite being a 4-year starter at left tackle and then also going down to the Senior Bowl and dominating all the edge rushers at the position, Zack Martin still got moved inside to guard in the NFL. Why? Because he measured at the combine with 32 1/4 inch arm length. The only difference is social media wasn't around like it is now, and nobody made a big deal of it back then. If you go on Twitter now, people act like you committed a serious crime if you mention Will Campbell's arm length. Listen, the point here is simple, guys. It's not me or any other fan or media guy that cares about arm length. It's the guys who run NFL teams. They simply do not want guys with 32-inch arms protecting their franchise quarterbacks. It does not mean they can't do it. It does not mean they don't have the talent to do it. It simply means NFL teams have preferences. The list of tackles that have been converted to guard goes on and on and on. And I believe a lot of them, guys like Joe Thuney, Zack Martin, Will Campbell, maybe even Peter Skoronski, and many other prospects would be able to succeed at left tackle if they were given the opportunity. The problem is most will never get that opportunity. But why is playing guard in the NFL so bad? Joe Thuney and Zack Martin made a career out of it and look like surefire Hall of Famers. And tons of NFL GMs have had success moving shorter arm tackles inside to guard once they get to the NFL. It does not mean they're bad at football. It's simply a preference that most teams have. It's NFL History 101. It's been happening longer than I've been alive. Teams have taken college tackles with sub 33-inch arms and moved them inside to guard in the NFL. It's simply how it works. And the examples are endless. Some recent ones are Joe Thuney, Zack Martin, Peter Skoronsky, Graham Barton, Tyron Smith, Dylan Radoon, Sam Cosmi, Mekhi Becton, Robert Hunt, Tevin Jenkins, and even Brandon Scherf. In fact, if you look at PFF's highest rated guards in the NFL last season, most of them were college tackles. It's also simply a fact that in college, most teams put their best offensive linemen at left tackle. But once you get to the NFL, you need all five guys on the line to be studs, and guard matters a little bit more. It's not just about getting a stud left tackle. And a lot of teams actually believe that shoring up the interior of the offensive line can be more important than the tackle position. This way of thinking is evolving. It used to be all about protecting the blind side, but over the last 15 years, right tackles and guards are the positions in the NFL that are getting the biggest increases in pay. Teams are paying nearly as much for right tackles as they are blindside protectors now. And we have guards surpassing 20 million a year for the first time ever, and teams are changing the way they build their front fives. But one thing has remained consistent throughout my entire life as a fan of the NFL. It's that college tackles with short arms get moved inside to guard. This is not a new thing. If you go on social media, people are acting like Will Campbell is the first tackle to ever get moved to guard due to his arm length. And if you mention Zack Martin or any of these other guys that got moved inside to guard, most fans don't even realize they were tackles in college. It's simply mind boggling, and it shows you the amount of uninformed people out there with platforms. Nobody that is talking about moving Will Campbell to guard in the NFL is saying it because they can't think, is saying they don't think he can play tackle. That is simply not the case. It's because the NFL has a long standing pattern of doing things like this, and it's just a fact that most NFL GMs are going to view Will Campbell as a guard. There are possibly a few exceptions around the league, and a couple of teams could view him as a tackle. But the most likely scenario here is that Will Campbell spends his career at guard, just like Zack Martin, Joe Thuney, and so many others before him have. There's no reason to be offended by it. It's simply a fact in the way the NFL works. There are only two tackles in the entire NFL with arms as short as Will Campbell's, Luke Goedeke and Braden Smith. And both of those guys play right tackle. If you're talking about left tackle, there are exactly zero left tackles with arms as short as Will Campbell's in the entire NFL. Also, with his 77-inch wingspan, he would have the shortest wingspan of any tackle in the NFL in the last 10 years. And also, for anyone who thinks Alaric Jackson has 32-inch arms, that is not correct. He came out in 2021, the COVID year, and there was no NFL combine that season, and a lot of misinformation went around. But Alaric Jackson did get measured with 33 and 7/8-inch arms, well above what some people are claiming. But the bottom line here is pretty simple, guys. I love Will Campbell as a prospect. His tape shows a guy who dominated most of his competition in the SEC. But most teams in the NFL are still going to view him as a guard. And when it comes to the Bears specifically, I think they will view him as a guard, just like they do Joe Thuney. It doesn't mean he's not good. It just most likely means he's going to play guard in the NFL. But it all comes down to what team drafts him. And this is a Chicago Bears channel, guys. And to me, I just don't see us drafting a guy as a guard in the top 10 of the NFL draft after trading for Joe Thuney and giving Jonah Jackson a contract extension. So to me, I think Will Campbell is pretty much off the table. But this arm length conversation has gotten way out of hand, and I wanted to take a few minutes to address it and let you guys know this is not a big deal. It's simply the way the NFL works. And when I mention a guy's short arms and him moving inside to guard, it's simply the way the NFL works. It's not my doing. So if you want to get upset about it, you have to get upset with NFL teams. Not me. I don't make those decisions. But I appreciate everyone who watches. Please hit that like button for me, guys. Stay tuned. I have a ton more content on the way. I was live with Greg Gabriel earlier, and I went and joined the Bear review for a mock on his channel as well. Check those out, guys, and until next time, bear down.